covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Heilman and Jim Mernier.
Welcome in, fans of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast. Zach Heilman leading things off for you for another excellent edition of the show as we are coming in to episode 107, or as we'd like to say, NAL Gameday Week 9 edition here at Inside the Walls. We're going to give you all the previews for Week 9 of the National Arena League season, kind of tying some things together, giving you some thoughts, opinions, debates, as you will, as to what might be going on this week, and of course those glorious polls and awards as we always have talked. But before we get into all that, I got to bring on my good co-host and the gentleman behind the scenes with a lot of stuff that makes it funny to lead the show in. It is, of course, my buddy Jim Mernier over at Jacksonville. Jim, good to see you, man. No curtains on this. It was absolutely hilarious getting this show started today. But
take three.
How you doing? Take three. Take four.
Me
cussing at the camera.
We almost had
the camera, though. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Just clarifying. It's the camera I'm talking to. I'm not talking to him.
We're doing it live. We're doing it bleeping live. That's what we're going to do.
We're doing bleeping live, man.
Yeah, take three. Yeah, that was very entertaining how to start off the show. Week 9's finally here. How can we say? Polls come out, awards are coming out, new coach in Albany, 3 big games going to roll out this week. Game of the week, Sharks, Warbirds. We will have a hype video that debut on this episode on Inside the Walls. They preview all 3 games, of course, to pick them. And, of course, again, I wish we had a blooper reel because the first couple takes of the show was pretty hilarious. Jim didn't know how to press certain buttons or videos into play. So, yes, it was chaotic. What a way to start your Friday. What a way to start Week 9 of the National Arena League. It has to be chaotic somehow. It's either I'm going to be chaotic or Top Gunner's going to do something. And I'd rather do it before he does. And I think I did. I think I won that award this week.
Oh, yes. Oh, you most certainly did. But that's okay. The show will go on. The show always starts in one fashion or another, and we are finally made it. So, congrats. We got things in order. We had a few chuckles. Sometimes it's just a little bit funny that way, but I would not have it any different all the same, and I'm glad to be on with you for this episode. Let's kick things off here with the media polls as we always do before we jump into our slate of Week 9 games, giving you everything that we've got right now. We haven't gotten a coaches poll yet from the league, so we're kind of just rolling with it right now. Just going to roll with the media poll and give you our takes. And as you can see, we've been slowly, progressively more discussing when that kind of gap is forming. We hinted at it last show earlier this week, and you can see in our voters here, 3 and 4, definitely separate. Although the new top dog on the media poll, and I think that was definitely from a statement victory, without a doubt, is the Jacksonville Sharks pulling in 66 of the points and 7 first place votes on this. The rest of the running order for folks also listening on the audio platforms, as we always got to give you. Here's the rundown. It goes Sharks, Cobras, Gunslingers, Mustangs, Warbirds, Predators, and Empire finishing up the rear. The top 3 teams all received at least 1 first place vote, with the Sharks getting 7 of those, Cobras with 2, Gunslingers with 1, and the margin of error between 1 through 3 is only separated by 10 points, as we put it in our system. 3 to 4, though, is a massive gap, drops 21. So you can clearly tell that our side of things, between us two and the rest of the folks that follow the league that are in the media section of this, we are definitely seeing a bit of a fissure going on now at the top of the charts, which we did. And Jim, you can elaborate, but we did discuss that a little bit on our earlier episode this week on Rebound.
Yeah, as everyone sees, if you're watching on YouTube, hello YouTubers, you can start to see the separation between the 3 and the 4, and you're starting to see the muck get thicker with the 4, 5, and 6 team, especially with West Texas and Fayetteville right there, with just points. This is the fourth consecutive week in the media poll that the Albany Empire have placed last place on all 10 voters this week. This is the second week where we had multiple teams have first place votes. Jacksonville had one last week with San Antonio having 9 this week. Carolina got some love with 2 votes as well. I think the people who voted for Carolina are they didn't play. The team above them lost. They get the rightful place at number 1 with their vote. But overall, as you could tell, throughout the whole voters, we all had pretty similar rankings of our teams, who's the top 3 and who are the bottom 4 at the moment. But it's again week 9, and you could say Zach was teasing it, call a little bit of separation Saturday, separation weekend. Well, we do have that chance this weekend as the top 3, 1, 2, and 3 are taking on 4, 5, and 6 in order. So there's a chance where there can be a separation where at the end of the weekend, Fayetteville could be 2.5 games behind the Jacksonville Sharks and the Carolina Cobras and all the tiebreakers against the teams they lost to or be above them. So this could be a separation weekend. So if you see the thumbnail of this episode, it does say separation weekend because of that reason, because we do have a chance of that 3 to 4 seed making that 1 game spread to a 2.5. And people, I guarantee I'm going to get messages. We're going to get messages. 2.5, they're only a game behind. The half a game represents the tiebreaker that the Sharks already have over Fayetteville. So there's the half game. You could tie, but they still have the tiebreaker. So week 9, we are officially halfway through the 2023 season. We are about to get the next 9 weeks is playoff push. Or 8 weeks, 9 weeks. It's the playoff push. So keep your Twitters, your social media, Facebook, Instagram. Follow us for all the in-depth information for up-to-date news from the National Marine League. And also, when we make announcements right on Sundays of the next week's game of the week. And again, we have that game of the week today. Sharks, Warbirds. Stay tuned later in the episode for the hype video. They kick off this week. But yes, media poll. Nothing shocking. The teams that got points deserve it. West Texas jumped. I think they gained almost 20 points. I think they were like at 12 points last week. Now they're in the 30s. So they jumped up in the point system too. So
yes. Yeah, voters put them a lot closer to Fayetteville after this past week. I mean, you can't really blame them. They handled Orlando. Mitch Kidd, as we talked about, came out. The hype around him from folks that had talked to us definitely came to play. And I think there's a new positive kind of mantra around what the Warbirds can accomplish. It's still a long season, but great first step, or at least next step in the right direction, getting your second win under your belt. So they got a lot of respect out of that as well. Not only, of course, getting the standings to help them out, staying at that 5th spot, but also in the poll too. It's funny, the poll's kind of following, for the most part, the standings, sans 2 and 3 at this time. But I can't say I can't blame you. San Antonio taking a dip, but I think it's more of a reactionary thing. We'll see how that goes. This week they had a chance to course correct things. Against a Preds team that I think will have a few questions still to answer.
Correct.
So good media poll. And yeah, the coaches poll, like I said, I think we were waiting on this, but I think here I do have a hypothesis for why, and it kind of revolves around this next bit of this news bit we're going to be discussing real quick. Because the Albany Empire, as we've talked about and you see on the screen, they needed a new coach. They have to go on the road this week. So they have to hire someone. There are rumors about Maurice Leggett, which thank you for those on the live stream correcting me, by the way, as Leggett would have had to retire to take this job. He did not take this job. Instead, we learned today that Terry Foster, former Jersey Flight head coach, that team was in the 2021 season of the NAL before folding in 2022. He will be joining ranks and taking over head coaching duties. Foster's been doing this. He has a 10-year career as a head coach in various leagues, but has been in the NAL scene before. Needless to say, he's got experience. He's got, I would say, from what we've seen in his previous work, defensive prowess, so should be able to help that side of the ball a little bit. Main thing is, I don't sound crazy for this, not because of the fact that they hired him. I'm glad they picked up another veteran guy. Like, I'm actually really glad they picked up someone that has been around the block. But again, Jim, I mean, this is the only thing that keeps hanging over everyone's head. And I know it's kind of a joke in some communities, or some of the communities we follow are in, but how long is he around? You know, I think that's a legitimate question, is how patient are you as an owner? And Antonio Brown, he was interviewed by WNYT Albany. Actually today, that interview dropped as we're recording. And, you know, he said he wants stability. He keeps claiming he wants stability. His organization's saying that. So that's the main question I have with this. I have no problem with Terry Foster. I think it's a good hire for the sake of a veteran leader. But are you going to chill? Are we not going to pull the ripcord early? That's what I'm waiting on. Like, let's not pull the ripcord or hit the emergency button or the eject button on this. That's what I'm waiting to see, because they have a home game in 2 weeks. I'd like to see Terry at the home game. That's all I'm asking. Otherwise, I mean, if I trust that, I'm fine with the hire. I mean, Jim, and again, I obviously want to hear your thoughts on this, but I mean, you don't have too many more options. It's funny. I'm amazed at the fact that we're finding, oh, look at this. We're finding ABC. Now we're at plan D. Mm-hmm. And I hate to even suggest that plan E might have to be in the cards, but that's just the season that we're currently living in. Because every week we got to bring something up like this. I hate to say it, but it's been almost every week now.
It's been almost every week. The last guy that they had zero experience in coaching. Ben Bennett had experience. Manasseh, of course, had experience. Damian Ware had experience. There are a lot of experienced coaches in the arena game out there. The problem is those names are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, or the field's getting smaller as more continuous transitions happen in an organization. Foster, he's been around the block 10 years, so he knows the business. He led the second-ranked defense in the NAL in 2021. He's coached players like Nick Hag, Laughing House, Dangerfield, Larry Beavers, Warren Smith Jr., to name a few people. So he has a reputation in the league. I just hope that if we're going to start seeing consistency, it needs to begin now. If not, it's not an easy fix. It's not going to be fixed overnight. Luckily for Albany, they have a bye week this week, so they have a chance to get him in, let him kind of establish his system. As we've talked to many players, quarterbacks, coaches around the league, you know one system, you know them all at the same time. So for Albany, it's get ready to, calm down, show some signs of consistency, show the community that you're going to stick on the right path and rebuild this thing and get it back to where it was. But again, they finally got the hire. It's been the question all week: who's going to be the next head coach? Who's going to be leading the Empire for their next home game? But right now, for the fans, they can, finally, take a deep breath and go, at least we know who the head guy is. Now let's see who he can bring in, because he does have connections, and I guarantee he has relationships with a lot of players around the arena community that may not have a home right now. But see what they can do. It's still half the season still left. Albany is one of the teams that plays 14 games. You still have 8 games left in your slate. You're only out of the playoffs by 2.5 games, so you can still, get on the run and catch up to Fayetteville or West Texas or Orlando. The season's not over, but if we see as we cover this league, and especially if we cover this team, if the transitions keep happening each and every week, the digit on the right side of the record will be going higher than the digit on the left side. And pretty soon you'll see an E next to your name, which stands for eliminated from postseason contention. And then for Albany fans, that's going to be very odd territory for them because for the existence of the Albany Empire, they have made the postseason every single year. This is odd territory, but hopefully Foster comes in, brings his style, brings his defensive mentality to Albany, and Albany trying to salvage the second half of the season and trying to win a couple of games to push for that 4 seed if they can get to a 4 seed.
Yeah. Well, that's your target right now. That's all you can ask for. I personally would rather, even if not the 4 seed, I just want stability to kind of finish the year out is all. Terry Foster, I think they're lucky that they got someone that has had the time in this sport, but now comes the part where the ownership has to live up to its role. I think the only thing I can bring up from that WNYT interview is a lot of it's been mentioned of, it's coming down to coaches getting hired, quote unquote, and they're not wanting to fill the role that is being asked. Like, it keeps on talking, and this is not me quoting exact quotes. I'm paraphrasing, just a heads up. So don't take me as exactly quoting AB here, but a lot of it comes down to community. He's talking about community engagement, talking about coaches have to be in the community with the players and promoting. And he's claiming in lesser words that Pete Porcelli wasn't doing that and that some others weren't. I don't know how deep that actually happened or not. That all I can go on is what was in that interview, but I don't know how much goes on with that discussion. And if Terry Foster is going to do that, then you would think in theory that's not going to affect anything. He can be staying with the team. And I mean, I'm hoping that's the case. But I can't track anything anymore. I don't fully understand the plan with the coaches and the front office because they keep on moving on so fast. It's hard for me to pin down anything except for a separate ways type of approach where you're hearing coaches after the fact go, well, I'm down and out. This isn't working. And I think you just got to take a step back at some point, whether it is AB, whether it is Ryan Borkin in the GM spot, the president and some of the other guys that are running this organization, just leave it alone. Go and focus on other items. For example, AB brought up in this interview. I bring this up because it was pretty insightful. If you want to check it out, go to NYT's own Facebook page. Great 8-minute discussion, at least in terms of if you want to hear some insights. They're talking about bringing the block party back, which hasn't been really commonly going, which good. That's what you want to see. They're talking about other items. They're talking about doing a Juneteenth themed game for their next home game, which is, for minority engagement and all that, that's fantastic. I think that's a pretty cool idea if executed the right way. Apparently he's claiming he's been talking with a lot of community leaders about kind of making this a big event. All this stuff I like hearing. Now, go and focus on that stuff and building the ticket base. Leave the coaching alone. This is where I want. This is kind of. It's kind of just where I'm trying to separate the redundancies from what we've been saying in recent weeks to now. Is like, okay, you're out in public. You said, I want to do A, B, C, and D. That's away from the football field. Great. Okay, you do that. Don't touch what the coach is doing right now. Let Terry coach. Let whoever you bring in. It is Terry Foster. It sounds like, and there's nothing that's been refuting that yet. But we're gonna go with that. Let Terry do his thing. If you really want to talk about something else again, wait till the off season. But go and focus on what I would say building trust or building back community engagement. Because I feel like firing coaches right now it's about, and we're talking back from Manas's basically departure. You've had 3 coaches in 4 weeks, so you're going for just over a coach a week right now, a clip. That is absurd for any organization. Just chill. Let Terry be himself. Let him do his thing. Let him get with his players and whoever he's got to bring. Because remember, Ben Bennett's gone too, so there's no OC to lean on. Roland Rivers is going to have to figure this thing out with whoever Terry Foster brings in. I'm not 100% sure, but again, you talk about connections. He'll find people to bring in. He's got guys he's worked with. but just let him do his thing, man. That's all I got to ask. You go and be an owner. You go and be a GM and do things that are in the community, or get these guys going in the community if that's what you want to do, but let the coaches coach. That's it. I hope I don't have to talk about it again, because Terry is, to me, like you said, there's other candidates you can probably throw, but like Terry Foster's a veteran guy. For the chaos you've been through, and I didn't think you'd find someone like Terry to come in after Pete Porcelli was let go after a week, but here you are. And I thought Ben Bennett might have a shot, but Ben's not here anymore. So just that's it. I don't have much else to say. I could ramble on forever, but I just want to see the coaches do the coaching without having to have a hammer hanging over their head, so that 1 week after you're bonking them and saying, see you later. Whack-a-mole coaching decisions, whack-a-mole organizational decisions, quick strike items. I have no idea how else to put that, but it's kind of the way I look at it. The ever-looming threat of a pink slip.
You're just frustrated like most of the Albany Empire fan bases right now.
I'm a little calmer this week, but it's also because I'm almost numb, which is weird that I'm numb to firings, because that shouldn't be a normal thing. Mm-hmm. But that's where we're at. It's just kind of normal right now. I hope it's not. Like I said, let Terry be. Terry is a good choice for where they are currently in this part of the season. Just let him do his thing. He's been in the NAL before. Let him run this team.
And he's familiar with a lot of the teams in the NAL too. So.
Exactly. Just let him run his team. Let him talk with folks. We'll be good. But don't fire him. I unless he does something that is detrimental to the organization, or is just downright god-awfully illegal or horrible as a human being, which I don't have anything that would say that would happen. Mm-hmm. Let him coach the damn team. That's it. That's all I ask. That's all I want to see. Leave him alone. Which is killer, because even in the same interview, again, I reference it because, again, you should watch it. AB's talking like he didn't want to fire Pete Porcelli. So that just adds a little extra to the end of this talk. I'm done. I can't go farther because I don't want to sound like I was last week, because I can't do this every week. So that I cut myself off here. If you have anything else to add, Jim, go right ahead. But I can't do that because I don't want to keep repeating myself as the same tone and talk, because we know all the same thing. Everyone listening to this knows exactly what's going on. That's the deal.
Well, everyone knows it because it's headline news almost every single week.
Yeah.
It's I know me and you kind of flex, and we get excited when people say, well, Zach said this from inside the walls, or Jim said this from inside the walls, so we know it's we know that this information's accurate. When the major 4-letter networks are taking control of it and then sending it out, then it's big news, and it's like, well, it's out of our hands now. So honestly, Terry Foster is a good coach. He's a good defensive-minded coach, and he was dealt some bad cards in Jersey when he was there, but he had his team. His team was very competitive when he was in Jersey, and hopefully he brings that same mindset and that type of how you can say culture to Albany to get them back on track, because that's a good fan base, and they're used to winning. They're going through the rough patch, and I think if they give Foster enough time, they'll salvage the season. They'll be competitive in a lot of these games. May not win a lot of these games, but they'll be competitive. And hopefully you go in the off season, rethinks it's just different things, and rebound and get ready for the 2023 season. But this season's far from over. They're nowhere near out of the race. Win a couple of games. Hopefully some teams ahead of you stumble on the way and you can get back in the race. But right now for Albany, it's get through the bye week, get some players in that they want, his players, establish what you want to do, and go out there the next home game and trying to get a win in front of your fan base, and get the thing back rolling again.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, that I take that back. That home game is in. It is 3 NAL weeks from now if you include this week. So I take it back. It's the 17th, just as a heads up. But yes, say like I said, we'll let him do his thing. He does have a bye week. That's a good thing. We just hope that the standard is to let him do his thing and that realize where you're at is the deal. Let's talk about some actual games now. Again, and look, I apologize, people. We got to, when news comes up, it comes up. I'm not saying it's all Albany based, but the thing is, Albany has a lot of news pieces these days. It just comes up because of the territory. Anyway, diving on in, let's get to this thing. Let's talk about some in-state rivalries. Let's talk about part 2 of an in-state rivalry being born here. Fayetteville and Carolina, or at least that's where the matchup looks like this time. It was Carolina-Fayetteville first time. Now we're going to Greensboro for part 2 of the matchup here of the Carolina Rumble, as they have been calling it here. The Mustangs going to have at least a full, healthy roster this time. Remember, the last time these two played, we didn't see Rakeem Cato out there. We saw James Summers, which, we had a lot of questions. They played it close relatively for the first half. Things fell off the tracks once Carolina got itself under its feet and some mistakes on offense were made. This time around, Cato should be the guy. There's no indication he's injured, no indication there's a coaching situation. He played really solid football last week in all things considered and powered their way to a win in Albany, New York. Now they get to go to Greensboro, just up the road from their territory at Crown Coliseum in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and they try and see if they can exact some revenge.
Revenge is best served cold, but the problem is the Carolina Cobras are not cold. They're 4-1. Their last win was pretty impressive in Fayetteville. Remember, they played in Fayetteville had their bye week, and now they got Fayetteville again. But it's in their building. Hopefully some Fayetteville fans make the trip up to Carolina, as Carolina did when they went down there to the Crown Coliseum. Last game, as we know, is James Summers was playing majority of the game, or most of the game, about 9% of the game. Caleb played maybe, possession and a play, probably.
Yeah, he came in relief and actually threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
In his relief possession.
But Cato came back last week, was very impressive, led Fayetteville to a impressive win over Albany. They didn't get caught in a lot of the, the drama, the start, the, Hollywood atmosphere that was going on in Albany. They went up there and took care of business and got the win. Now they go back into the state of Carolina for the Carolina Rumble against the Carolina Cobras. Malik Henry, who is having a good year. Again, like we mentioned before, these two teams just previewed 2 weeks ago. This was clones versus clones. They know each other because both these teams played with each other last year in Carolina. It's now I can say that this time you're going to see the real Fayetteville team take on the real Carolina team because of Cato. We expected that last 2 weeks ago, and we were kind of stunned of the Summers. Heard things about Cato was dealing with the nagging injury, and they didn't want to risk it. Don't know what type of injury it was, but as you can tell, last game, it looked like he's fully recovered and he's back to his ways. But it's on the road. You're in the Greensboro Coliseum. You're in a stadium where T.C. Stevens is known to thrive, where he loves to kick deuces. You're in an arena that honestly is not friendly with teams that are expansion franchises. West Texas went in there last year, or earlier this year, and lost. Last year, which was a kind of a interesting, San Antonio went in there and got mollywopped. 2 years ago, going way back, Jersey went in there and was the only team to actually win at Greensboro as an expansion team to win. I know Jim has useless stats, as people like to say about the NAL, but the Carolina Cobras are 7-1 against expansion franchises on their first visit in the Greensboro Coliseum. Their only loss was to the Jersey flight. That Foster coach Jersey flag team.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yes.
right. And that was early on in the season.
Correct.
Before Coach Rez took our suggestions that year, as we have learned later on.
In the next game, Caroline boat raced them.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the deal.
Yes.
I think that is funny, kind of flashing back to 2021 like that, kind of the earlier days of the show, and jumping in there.
Yeah, Caroline was our fantasy football team.
But yeah, if you want to continue, like you said, put new teams to the ringer. That is the Cobra's way. The silver and black. Make sure that you take your black and blue lumps if you catch my drift.
To be considered a blue blood in this league, you got to have records like that over expansion franchises. Jacksonville is, with their win over Fayetteville and West Texas this year, they're 12-3 against expansion franchises. First time against them. And Carolina has a similar record. They have a much better record at home than on the road, but they have a similar record. But this is the second matchup between these two teams. Like the previous matchup between Carolina and Jersey, that was their second matchup, was in Carolina. Now, no, that was their first matchup. Their second matchup was the one-sided affair by Carolina. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Studying this game, especially this week, you have to look back at last week, 2 weeks ago's game. What was very successful for Carolina? Special teams. Adam Smith was a beast. Who else? You got to remember the one-man band, Zach Brown. He dominated the game. I think he was the Iron Man of the week, and Adam Smith was the specialist of the week. Those guys are the two main weapons that cause all the troubles for Fayetteville. What did Fayetteville do very well last week against Albany? They contained Roland Rivers' mobility. Malik is not mobile, but Malik has a better arm, and he's a better overall quarterback than Roland Rivers. Roland Rivers only threw for 95 yards. If you do that to Malik Henry, that's very impressive. It's not going to happen, but it's going to be very impressive.
Yeah, Malik's got a much better internal
Exactly.
clock than Rivers whatsoever. I mean, honestly, it's weird to even say this, but I mean, Rivers looks. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more. And that's chaotic for them because of the situation. But like Malik was farther along year one in his experience, indoor or arena, it seems, than Rivers has ever been, and that just is just shows. But that's definitely going to be an issue right there. Is you're going to see quick passes, you're going to see stuff get out. Sacks won't be as common because you're not going to get back to him by that time. He knows to get it out there right and early, and that line is better, without a doubt, better in Carolina than it is in Albany.
Carolina has a better line. Carolina has a better group of receivers with Adam Smith, Lance Evans, and I want to say Rima is coming back this week. May not. I don't know. We don't have the injury.
I have to wait on that one.
But overall, my concern in this match, I saw against Albany for Fayetteville. Fabian ran all over him in special teams. Every time they kicked off, Fabian got the ball, was on the other side of the field. You do that against Adam Smith, Adam Smith is going to return 2 to 3 touchdowns. He is the specialist kickoff return dude for Carolina. He's a dude. You can't just say, oh, he's a kicker. No, what is it? I am him. Is that the thing now? They said I'm him. That's Adam Smith.
He is him. I am him.
Yeah. So that's Adam Smith. But what intrigues me about this matchup this week, this time around, is Cato. Cato and when Cato is on the money, Fayetteville's offense is lethal, especially with Trey Long, especially with Kendrick Ings. Kendrick Ings is another specialist that can take it back to the house as well. Now with the addition of Cato, I wonder how this game would be played compared to what it was last 2 weeks ago, where Summers was more of a, if the guy was there, I'm going to throw the ball. If not, I'm going to just run the ball. Cato's the type of dude's like, if he's not there, I'm going to scramble a bit, try and find my second, my third read. This is what intrigues me, a healthy Cato against this Carolina team. But Carolina did play against a mobile quarterback pretty recently and completely dominated him 2 weeks ago. against James Summers, mobile
Yeah.
quarterback. So Carolina is used to that. One thing I like about studying film about Carolina, especially James Fuller's offense and how he does his teams, is that he will basically bait you in the first quarter to see what you do. And then once you buy on that bait, he will torture you what he just sent you. He will do like I watched the game a couple of weeks ago, them against West Texas. Fuller was baiting West Texas to bring a tighter cover so he can throw deep. So he's doing check downs, little receiver screens, little 5-yard cuts, 5-yard ends, trying to get Evans or Adam Smith wide open down the field. And West Texas didn't bite. They weren't biting. And so he's like, okay, you're not going to do that? I'm going to give you some screens here. I'm going to give it to Zach Brown. And all of a sudden, the defense started moving up. And then Lance Evans and Adam Smith were down the field wide open for deep balls. Fuller likes to bait defenses, unlike some coaches will like, oh, we have our bread and butter. We're going to just throw deep because that's what we're going to do. San Antonio's notoriously known. Shaw's offenses are notoriously known for that. If the deep ball's there, they're going to throw it. They're not going to tell you what they're going to do. Fuller likes to bait his opponents to go after something that he's trying to do. Meaning, oh, you're going to try, I'm going to bait you. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to nickel and dime you. Nickel and dime. He doesn't want a nickel and dime. He wants Malik Henry to throw that ball deep the whole night. But he's going to make sure to make you, the defense, realize that you're going to have to stop his short game first. He's not going to be a coach that's going to just, I'm going to throw it deep all the time. And you can tear up, like West Texas was going through that with that Daniel Smith because he kept throwing it deep, like use the middle of the field. Now for Fayetteville, what you guys did against Albany last week was perfect. You mixed up everything. If the deep ball was there, you took it because Kenry Dinks could get open against anybody. But Cato was smart with his decisions and did a check down routes. One thing about Caroline's defense that makes them very solid is that they cause complete chaos on the line of scrimmage. They're one of the most aggressive defenses in the league, very similar to Jacksonville. They don't care what type of style of offense you're going to run. They're going to obliterate your front three and your running back to get the Cato. If Fayetteville's offensive line, which we've seen this season, has stumbled against Jacksonville, stumbled against Carolina, stumbled against San Antonio, they need to bow up. They need to bow up this game if they want to beat the Cobras in Greensboro this Saturday night.
It can be a leaky front three. I definitely would say that with Cato, though, stepping in, as much as, again, I got to give praise because James Summers, he does his due diligence best he can.
Yes.
He is not the same talent level. That at least is a big boon for the Mustangs, is at least they're going to get their best on best to play in this rematch. And I think to prove themselves a little bit, I think that's what we've been seeing is, they are a solid squad. They in terms of overall production, we have said this all year. They are a solid squad, but they have not been able to do the things in crunch time or in crucial situations to go pound for pound or at least keep up. So you get your actual shot this time at Carolina with your full strength. Your legitimate, true best quarterback behind you to go at this with. And I do find this will be a fascinating game from that standpoint. How will the defense for the Mustangs adjust? How will the Cobras defense adjust, given that you are going to have someone that is a little more, I think, situationally aware and a lot more athletically capable of just creating plays? That's something that'll be massive for the Mustangs to have on their side, and I'm looking forward to seeing how all things are adjusted. One thing, you're talking the special teams battle, also fascinating from the Mustangs' perspective because you have Kendrick Ings, who has been doing his own damage week in, week out on returns, and Eric Amaya, slowly but surely, he keeps on building up a repertoire, great with extra points, and has been getting it back to the nets more lately. He's been getting that ball down turf range pretty well. So, I still think, guy like TC Stevens, I still expect to see at least a deuce for this one from him. Not saying Eric can't do it, but I haven't seen it as often from him. He has hit a deuce before, so don't be fooled. And it's the right arena to do it. Greensboro Coliseum, you can crack that sucker all the way up into the sky. It takes a lot of effort to go and hit the scoreboard over there in Greensboro. So you're going to be seeing some true kicking battles. No doinks, as Ralph Judkins is labeled on the San Antonio broadcast, which I think we'll give Ralph the benefit. We'll give Ralph the credit on that. I like that call. I think they should be called doinks too. So we'll start calling them that, I think, on this show. No doinks should be happening this game. You'll see pure full kickoffs, full XPs, more deuce opportunities. No strategies for that. That's something that we've been seeing too, is maybe strategy being put involved, because again, you start at the 10-yard line if you bash it off the scoreboard. So, it'll be a full battle that way, but much better matchup this time around. And last time we talked as if Cato was going to play. We take it the same way this time. There is even less anticipation that we'll see a QB different than number 12 himself in the back behind center come game day.
Also, in this preview for this game, how long does it take for Carolina to get out of the rust of being off a week? Wow, Fayetteville has been there. They play last week. 13 days is a long time to being off the field. So I want to see how fast it takes. If not, let's see how fast Fayetteville can, jump ahead in this game, try and contain a lead, and play and let Carolina catch up to you and not play from behind. And that's what happened to them 2 weeks ago. Early turnover. Carolina got ahead. I think TC hit a deuce. I think there was like a 14, 17-point swing in there in the second quarter. That really, was a determinant factor of the game. So let's see what Fayetteville does and see how Carolina gets back to their ways after coming off of a bye week.
Mm-hmm. Soon enough. We'll learn very soon. Should be a great one in Carolina for the second matchup of the Carolina Rumble. And I say that in terms of, like we talked, full strength on strength this time. There's no anticipation that we're aware of that you'll see anything otherwise. And, if anything, Fayetteville's got guys nipping at their tail, and they want to stay up at the top and be make a case for being part of those big boys up in the top three. So, hopefully a statement game for them. Otherwise, Carolina, hey, it'll be showing right back that why they stick up there at 2, and why we need to keep considering them as one of the high priority candidates for a championship run. But we'll keep on this train a-rolling as we're going to go over to Freeman Coliseum once more. Orlando, get in their new quarterback, the man himself in the mask, if you're watching Batman anyway, joining behind center for this week. No Joseph Hess to start this week. It is all the Jonathan Bain show, who has now had 2 NAL teams to be on. As you remember, a few weeks back, he was with the Albany Empire. 3 weeks back. Thank you. He's with the Albany Empire. I saw it on there. Thank you for the reminder. He was with the Empire, moved on from the team, got his requested release, was signed by the Orlando Predators this past week. Couldn't start, or wasn't available yet to start this week though. Full go. He's in. Again, as we've stressed, it's a very talented in terms of on-paper roster for the Orlando Predators. Now you have the all-NAL championship QB to go with that slew of receiving talents that are on that side. Defensively, still, I think, have some questions, but they've been getting a bit better. Need to get a little more out of them this week, and especially going to have to show up. I think you're going to want to feel confident too, because if you're San Antonio, or if you're Orlando and you see what happened in San Antonio last week, I imagine you're one to chomp at the bit to kind of go after some of the deficiencies the Gunslingers have had. If you're the Gunslingers, I'm imagining this week Fred Shaw is preaching to his guys, let's throw this tape away, let's reset, we know we're better than this, we know we're a more talented group than this, and let's go and get a win at home for the home crowd that we haven't had in now well over a month. They played here 2 weeks in a row, haven't had a win in Freeman because of that long road trip in well over a month. And again, they're going to be playing what should be at QB, a lot more of a competent team this week. No, not as many long balls. Jonathan Bain definitely knows situational play here, when to trust his receivers, when to let them carry the load, and when to go for the long shots as needed. Jim, this one, a lot more fascinating, I think, than it would have been if we stuck with the same roster a week ago, because Joseph Hess's magic spell that he left on us after the Jacksonville contest very much faded off last week, especially with those 2 dagger interceptions that sealed the deal against West Texas. Fully ended any chance of them having a comeback and forcing overtime. Now they made a move that I think they realized we have a bunch of guys that are these high caliber people. We just need to put a field general behind this Army. And that's what they did.
That's what they got, a NAL veteran, NAL champion, top 5 in passing yards, touchdowns in the league all time. That's what Bain is. Bain is a veteran quarterback. He was put in a very bad situation in Albany. That's what it's not what he is. The guy was leading the MVP race last year until he got hurt in San Antonio. Quite shocking. A couple of years last year. But one thing that I know for certain who is smiling right now, that is Rob Jones Jr., that is Darius Prince. Because they have a quarterback that can get them the football in tight windows because they both seen Bain play last year. They know him. And what will make them even other players happy is guys like Brandon Cisse, Freddie Blue Floyd, Devin Maxwell, Nick Hag. They're like, oh, we can go out there on defense, get a turnover, and know our offense is going to score because we have a veteran-led quarterback. Does this guarantee Orlando is going to win this game this week? No. It just guarantees that this Orlando team going to San Antonio is just not just an average Orlando team. It's a very experienced team. Multiple champions are playing on this team. They have been on tough road games. They've won tough road games in their career. And as for Bain, this is his 3rd team he's been with in 2022. He was signed by San Antonio this offseason, got released, got picked up by Albany, and he's now in Orlando. Knowing Bain, he doesn't say this publicly about revenge or he has his, things scheduled, because every time I've talked to Bain or we talk to Bain, he's never really, it's like, I can't wait to play these people. I can't wait. He's always a very genuine dude.
Yes.
But one thing he's ready for is technically his revenge tour from last year. Like, he still believes that he played on the best team last year in Carolina, and that they played their absolutely worst game at the absolutely wrong time of the year. So he has that mentality of like, I got 8 weeks to get Orlando from 1-4 to a 500 record, possibly a 4 seed, and he has a team that can do it. You have an MVP on that team in Darius Prince. You have multiple champions all throughout that roster from multiple teams. Rob Jones, when he played for Carolina, Nick Hag, Brandon Cisse, Brandon Fuentes. The list goes on of guys who have won champion. This is a championship caliber team, very experienced. The question that Orlando has in this game is like what they had last week, is how fast they can gel, how chemistry can kick in. If it kicks in early in the game, Orlando has a roster that can do the same thing that the Jacksonville Sharks did to San Antonio last week. They have the guys that they can go in San Antonio and go possession, touchdown, turnover, touchdown. They have that roster. It's the question of chemistry. One thing that did show up last week was Orlando's defense. Orlando's defense played pretty well last week to win them a game. Got crucial turnovers at the end of the game to get them back in the game. Fortunately, Joseph Hess made a couple of mistakes. Still a very young quarterback in the arena game, so it takes a while for a guy to experience, but still. A Jonathan Bain may not throw those interceptions at the end. We might be talking about a 2-4 Orlando Predator team, not a 1-4 team.
Very much so.
Now in San Antonio, this has been a different week for them. They're 5-1, but I guarantee they watch that film against Jacksonville. Go, yeah. If we cleaned up a few mistakes, we can. This game would have been a lot closer. We could have had a chance to win. A good sign for San Antonio, and I want to clarify this to people, is the Robert Kent signing is not a replacement for Arvell Nelson. He is going to be a player, a backup quarterback to Arvell to help Arvell, because one thing I've talked to not just Arvell, I've talked to many other quarterbacks in this league. There's no eye in the sky. There's no offense coordinator that's up in the booth watching the game like I see in the NFL or college football.
No tablets getting thrown your way
Exactly.
with back and forth camera with play-by-play control or anything
Correct.
like that.
Your guy is the same position player on your bench. Robert Kent Jr. would be that type of person for Arvell because Arvell has been kind of last 2 weeks not playing Arvell like. He's thrown 5 interceptions. He threw 3 last week. That cost him 21 points for the Jacksonville Sharks. That led the Jacksonville Sharks to a big win in San Antonio. Robert Kent could help settle that down. It's like, hey, what do you see? No, this is what I saw to help Arvell a little bit understand, or give him an extra set of eyes out there. The question is can San Antonio rebound? One thing that I've said before, and I guarantee you've heard it, and then many people have heard it around all sports, you don't want to make one loss roll into 2. We're at a point for San Antonio where, yeah, you just got beat by the Sharks, but get the Sharks loss out of your head. Focus on Orlando. If you keep worrying about the Sharks into the Orlando game and that ends up in the third quarter, you look up at the scoreboard and go, oh, crap, Orlando's winning this game. You do not want to make that one loss turn into 2. And this game is kind of crucial. I really want to see how San Antonio rebounds. I want to see how Arvell rebounds. Let's get the ball to Kylie Rashad more. He was almost a non-issue last week against Jacksonville. One thing about Orlando, they do give up a lot of deep balls. Mitch Kidd had a couple deep balls, touchdowns early in the game that really made West Texas get the groove. I think if San Antonio runs a good game plan, I think they can execute that. But the question is how they rebound. And it starts by protecting Arvell Nelson. One thing they didn't do last week, and Jacksonville tore them apart, was they got to Arvell all night. He wasn't comfortable in the pocket. He was making errant throws, 3 interceptions. But when he had time to throw, he always thought there was someone there, so he was seeing ghosts at some point. Let's see how San Antonio's offensive line protects Arvell early in this game, and that will be a clear determination of how this outcome of this game is going to be on Sunday afternoon this week.
Yeah, they're going to have to give him a little more time, and I think like we talked at length last episode. Arvell's got to, I think, get a little bit of a gut check. Now, credit having someone like Robert Kent that can be on the side and see what they're doing. Make some adjustments. That's not going to be 100% of a science. It will help, without a doubt,
yes,
if you have something that's going on, or say a possession that goes awry. That will help a lot. But it is a two-way street. 3 picks, and we didn't even touch on this too much. All in the red zone, by the way, which is even more damning. You're within your 10-yard line, and you're throwing interceptions or getting them tipped up for tip drills. That leads you nowhere. 5 picks in 2 weeks. That is also a big eyebrow raiser. And even for Arvell Nelson, who, like we've said on this show, trends show he is usually good for 1 pick a game. He throwing 5 is still a big red flag for someone that even throws a pick a game. That has to be calmed down. And I think, like any arena team for the most part, any football team in general, but especially for arena teams, just because that's how our sport is, where your core QB goes is generally where a lot of your roster will go. You can be a talented receiver. I mean, shoot, look at Orlando, who they're playing this week. You can have a Darius Prince. You can have a Clarence Williams on the same side. You can have a Lonnie Outlaw. But if your QB is in any way inconsistent or is not sharper, as close to as sharp as attack as possible, things will go south. Defense is the other part, but you got to at least have some sort of bend don't break in terms of the scoring, where you at least flip possessions. You can't be an open floodgate and just let everything go and say, you know what, let's outrun them. You can't be a 2022 Jacksonville Sharks. You can't just be let's outrun everybody and be like the Phoenix Suns of the National Arena League, where we just score buckets, Dan Toney style. No defense. Who cares about defense? We'll throw points up. No, you got to have some sort of turnover capability. You got to have some sort of way to get 4 and out stops, because let's be honest, field goals generally don't get kicked in this league, and when they do, I usually grab my hair or come close to puking in a trash can, because that's not how you should be doing it. Go for touchdowns, people. Don't go for field goals unless you're really at the very end. But I digress. It's a two-way street in the offensive side here, and I think that both items honestly failed last week. Credit. Great effort from Jacksonville as we talked. Their line dominates. Their linebacking core dominates as well. And this week, going to have big of a test. Freddie Booth Lloyd, he gets hot and cold, but you still got to play your A game, dude. Still is one of the top 3 in the league in sacks. He will get back to the quarterback. He will make your life a bit of living hell. There's Brandon Cisse to deal with still too. You got both those guys. They will not rest until they see Arvell Nelson on the turf in the Freeman Coliseum. Keep that in mind. And they also still have guys that can ball in the secondary. You just got to play a clean game. And I think that's what Fred Shaw is probably emphasizing along with Jeremy Richardson, his assistant head coach, is just eliminate mistakes. We are a good team. Let's play up to the level that we are. Let's not play down to opponents. Let's not beat ourselves. And they definitely have an opportunity this week, but they got to be ready for it and remove what was out of their mind last week. Because again, with Bain in the picture now, with Damon Ware, with a veteran quarterback that knows what he's doing, and you can relay information in a more complex level where you're like, all right, I know what you're doing with this. What else are you seeing? It's going to be a different game. This is not the same team from West Texas with someone else like that behind center. You got to be prepared. So keep that in mind. Should be, I say this, even though I know San Antonio has had several weeks this year where they are more the low-scoring team, surprisingly, but I do expect a shootout here. I have faith this is a shootout with the talents that are both sides, and given how defenses have been playing recently, I think this will be a high score where you're just going to have to sit on the edge of your seat and see who really does hold on to the ball at the very end. But we'll find out. It's not. I'm almost hyping it like it's the game of the week, but it's not the game of the week because this is the game of the week, and we're going to the Hector Memorial Coliseum to show off the game of the week. Sharks travel on the road. Mitch Kidd coming off his own first win in the NAL. It's going to be fun. Let's play the hype video.
Shall we?
I say, shall we? Impeccable work right there. I love it. I love it. Good hype. Plenty of hype, and it highlights a lot of stuff that we're going to be asking about with this matchup. Again, the Sharks heading on the road. They're going to go take on the Warbirds at the hangar, continuing their Texas trip, if you want to call it that, moving up north in northwest Texas to Odessa for that matchup against a team in the Warbirds that, again, surprised a bit of the NAL this week. They got a QB now. They got a QB that has a bit of spunk on him in terms of the guy himself, Mitch the Kid, as we are going to be labeling him more and more. I know it's more of a gunslinger's type of term, but I like it. It's in Texas. He's Mitch the Kid. I'm going to go with it. Or Mitch, but it's Mitch Kidd is his real name. look, great effort last week from the Warbirds. Defensively, that is most of the season been their bread and butter for Coach Tate Smith's group, and now they found a little bit, as I call it, spunk to the game where they have a QB that can deliver the rock to guys like Jalen Childress. They got Donovan Raspberry they can throw to. They're finding other targets in their offense to get going, and they found a bit of a run game too. And it's not just Trayvon Shorts I'm talking about that's getting those runs as well. It was the most competent performance they've had since their appearance in Carolina, and it was good progress. But the big question of the week, and I think this is what Tate Smith is trying to figure out in long nights behind his desk after practice, how do you slow down an attack like the Jacksonville Sharks? Because I look at the Gunslingers defense last week, who you and I have been putting as one of the top units in the league through this part of the year, and they had no answers. They gave up 70. Dropped 70 points on San Antonio. Now, credit West Texas, they have made some teams look very mortal this year. They just couldn't put together offensive opportunities to save their life. What do you do to keep Jacksonville at bay?
I don't get paid to do stuff like that. I don't know.
The opt-out.
Honestly, Jacksonville's offense over the last couple of weeks has been pretty lethal. Well, against Albany and against San Antonio, they both touched 70 points. One thing that in those two games that really was crucial for the both opponents of Jacksonville was turnovers. And one thing that we've noticed about West Texas last week is that they played a near perfect game. We didn't turn over the ball until the end of the game, where they got 2 turnovers or only got back in. You do that against Jacksonville in a close game. End of the game, you're looking up, you're down by 14, down by 21. Jacksonville feasts off of turnovers. But for West Texas side of things, how their team played the last week, Allen was incredible. Allen got some crucial interceptions. He won the Ironman Week award this week for West Texas. Of course, Shorts, veteran. He's been there. He's done that. Cornelius Lewis playing some decent defense side of the ball as well. So you have a core there that has been through tight games. The question is will guys like Childress, who had a decent game, make that next step? The one thing I liked about West Texas last week is Mitch Kidd opened up the offense. The offense looked more fluid, looked more in motion, looked more consistent throughout the game compared to the previous quarterbacks. But also, West Texas's defense was doing enough throughout the game, slowing down Darius Prince, slowing down the receivers, Clarence Williams, Rob Jones, Devin Maxwell, slowing down Orlando to stay in the game. Unfortunately, West Texas is going up against not Joseph Hess. It's going up against Sam Castronova, who has been near perfect since becoming the Jacksonville Shark. The offense of Jacksonville is going to be very explosive. For West Texas, like we mentioned before in other games, they have to find a way to slow this game down. Trying to slow, not like slow to make it a crawl. Basically, if West Texas gets the ball, nickel and diamond, and take forever to score. Don't get Jacksonville's offense out there and playing, basically like play, what do you want to say, fast break offense against Jacksonville. Jacksonville
there you
would
go.
torch you. Jacksonville was, okay, want to do this? We know we can do this every single possession. Can you? Thing about Jacksonville, they have very veteran leadership defense and front five, both offensive and defensive side ball that can dominate any offensive line they play. They showed it last week. They showed it against Albany, and I think they kind of started showing against West Texas week 1. This is a rematch. This is round 2 of this 3-game series or 3-game set against West Texas. And for Jacksonville, this is your Texas two-step. You did San Antonio last week. You go to West Texas. Jacksonville, for it right now, their mindset is that they know that they are the better team. They know that they could be the best team in the league. The question is for them is not if we're going to win the game, it's how much we're going to win by.
Right.
That's when you know a team has swagger. Jacksonville has that swagger right now. They're going to West Texas and going, we know we're going to beat these dudes. Just name the score. The question is can West Texas do the same type of mindset they did to get to Orlando? Because I guarantee Orlando was thinking the same thing last week.
Well, neither one of these teams can use the same approach as they did in their week 1 matchup. Remember that week 1, when we came into this setup, we were talking about a Jacksonville squad that had Connor Blount on it, his first arena game. He was shaking off rust for about 2.5 quarters, and he found his rhythm.
Yes.
That was the game he found for the most part, got the majority of what arena football was and got indoctrinated. Here's your first game, young man. Now you can see how the rest of this goes. And after that, pretty smooth sailing. That second half, that half of the third quarter, that back half of the third quarter really started clicking in. For West Texas, it's a different team now. A lot of tinkering. Like I said, the whole project car mentality. Parts are gone. Parts have been moved around. New pieces have been added in. This is a different machine. So Jason Gibson even has to go, okay, wait a minute now. I see Mitch Kidd here, who's come in last week, signed 2 weeks ago, who definitely has changed some things. I see that, unlike our last matchup, Trayvon Shorts is in. You got better linebacking core that's going to be in there. You got better linemen now, Cornelius Lewis, who got indoctrinated in this week and has made his impact known already in that roster. They've got better receiving talent to add on. Yes, they don't have Pegram, but Childress is, I think, more matured into his number 1 receiving role. And now you have Donovan Raspberry, who is even better to add on as support. Both sides are going to have some stuff. Now, I will say, though, I think if you're West Texas, you got to come in with an underdog mentality, even in your own building. That's it. Darn well that you've seen it. This team, by far, has been, without question, the best offense in the National Arena League. I checked just with stats because I was curious. In terms of points for, they have almost gotten 100 more points scored across the NAL. And again, we're talking a team that consistently, as you and I have talked, they put up a 50, a 60, 70, easy as pie. That's what you're going to be facing yourself on. Actually, one of the lowest scores of the season was from this West Texas squad. But again, that first half was atrocious. Do not expect that first half to happen again. I think that would be the biggest storyline of this game, is if no matter who walks out of this, if one of them slows down the other to where it's a crawl. I think we'll be talking about that on Rebound more, is about how is this a low score for both these teams. I don't see that happening at all. But I don't know beyond say you just get them on say you get the Sharks on an off night on a road trip or with turnovers. That's a tall task right at this stage. They've got everything clicking and they picked all the right pieces up at the right times right now.
West Texas needs to find a way to score 60 in this game.
Yeah.
And
one thing they do have.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say one thing they do have going for them with this game is luckily the hangar is a lower arena. Credit Mark Orozco is no stranger to kicking the line drive. He can do it. You've seen the guy's leg. Dude really shouldn't even be in the NAL. And that's not an insult. It's just that he is good. He should be in a pro league. He has the leg to go and play in a pro league. It's just not that opportunity right now. So, if anything, a little more challenging kicks for the guys in Jacksonville. So you are kind of, I think, maybe evening the playing field a little bit there.
Yeah.
In that regard, I know Justin Lair is also good, but if anything, you both have to deal with the same problem. It's not just like who has the bigger leg and who can swing it. You do have to have some skill. Other than that, though, I mean, it's going to be your best on best. And honestly, I am fascinated to see if West Texas's defense comes out and plays its best ball, because it has been playing good. They have been doing a pretty solid job in recent weeks.
Yeah.
Can they do it again? Can they answer the call one more time against the de facto best offense in this league? Scoring, yardage, you name it. It is the one that is the shining top dog.
Well, to look on the bright side for West Texas defense, they slowed down San Antonio's offense. They shut down most of the game Orlando's offense. And a couple weeks ago, prior to that, they almost completely stopped Albany's offense. So their defense is improving each and every single week. Now you're going up against the Jacksonville Shark squad's offense. It's a tough task. Can they do it? Yes. Do I think Jacksonville still touches 50 points in this game? Yes. That's why I say for West Texas, get to that 60 number. That's the goal. If you don't score anything higher than 60, you're not going to win this football game. You're going to have to get a turnover somewhere and outscore, get to 60 to win this game, because Jacksonville is guaranteed. I'm going to say guaranteed to get 50 points. You have to find a way to get more than that. So yeah.
We'll find out soon enough. It'll be quite the test this week, but another fun one. Again, I didn't want to specify. It feels like I said, since new ownership's taken over, we're seeing a lot of new promotional pieces come up too. There's a tailgate now, by the way, that's been going on in recent home games for the Warbirds. You can go out to those early. $10 tickets, just as a reminder. Really, arena football is affordable all over the place, but again, really good deal, especially if you're out in Odessa looking for something to do on a nice summer night, want to avoid the heat, which is, I think, one of the best arguments for arena football as well. Why not go into an air-conditioned, sporting venue and watch some football? I think that's a great, especially out in Texas, out in the oil fields. I think that's a great excuse to go inside and go and enjoy the greatest sport that I think. Well, I think in terms of arena football, one of the most underrated, in terms of football in general, the greatest sport on this planet. I will argue with anyone on that point till the day I die. But that's for another day. I could take a whole episode with that. Just got to find a soccer fan to talk to. Oh, sorry. I mean a football fan to talk to, if I'm being more proper. Maybe my uncle. I don't know. We'll go to Detroit and have a chat with him. Anyhow, let's dive in. It's one of the moments you've all been waiting for. As we've said, we've given you all the analysis. We've given you the previews. We've told you all the things you need to know. Yeah, you can pop it up. That's okay. It's okay. Podcast audio guys won't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's fine. Subscribe to the channel, by the way, if you want to catch any of the goofiness that is our own recordings, by the way, at In Walls Pod on YouTube. Click the bell as well for that, for weekly episodes for the videos. Anyhow, Pick'em time. Let's evaluate last week's first things first. 2-1 for you and I. Gee, I wonder which pick we missed on. It actually was that pick out there in Orlando, as we didn't have the Warbirds picked last week. That was a big upset for both of us, and I think for a few others in our overall Pick'em standings. We're going with Orlando as well. So both of us 13-7, tied apiece, kind of been deadlocking as of late. So something is going to give before the end of the season. Let's see if it gives right now. What do you think, Jim? Do you think we're going to break the tie this week? You got a feeling?
Probably not. I don't know yet.
Okay, all right. I see. I mean, I haven't told you my picks. Or, well, I told you my picks. I don't know yours. I guess that's the only thing I can tell you. So I will be the one very much interacting with this if he changes something up. Let's dive in, though, and start from the top. The Carolina Rumble, Fayetteville taking on Carolina. We told you about the fact these teams are now officially at full strength, or will be much more full strength compared to their first meeting back in Fayetteville at the Crown Coliseum, this time in Greensboro, where, as Jim greatly pointed out, the Cobras, they eat new expansion teams for lunch, 7-1 all time. Will they make it 8-1? Do I believe Fayetteville will buck that trend and come on in? And totally pun intended for the buck that trend thing. I will always go with the pun. The Mustangs, I love the team when it's firing on all cylinders. I really do. Rakeem Cato, absolutely the guy that needs to be under center. No questions asked. If he's healthy, you got to play him. Do I believe that the Mustangs play a clean enough game against the Cobras? Do I think they can take advantage of a team that maybe isn't fully ready off the bye week? Although that is kind of that would be kind of hard for me to say, because the Cobras are very well coached, and I don't see that being a factor in terms of that. So I gotta go with the Carolina Cobras. The home team takes it here. It's been playing a cleaner game. Defense, I think, is a little more ferocious, which I think that's, to me, my main deciding factor is if I'm evaluating pound for pound, I got to go with the Cobras defense. Whether it's Kenny Veal, whether it's Mike Green and company, they've been playing with reckless abandon in the secondary. And, of course, you got Zach Brown terrorizing in the middle of that whole mess as well. Give me Carolina. And I think it'll be a competitive affair. I just think that I haven't seen proof yet that Fayetteville will step out of its own way, and I think that you will see a slip-up. It'll come later in the game, but it will be a competitive football game for those listening. I got the Cobras, though, 5-1 after this week.
You got the Cobras. Well, I also got the Cobras, and here's the reason why. Uh, Cobras is offensive line, defensive line is still a better unit than Fayetteville. That they will be the ones causing havoc. Fayetteville stays in this game as long as they better than last time. It's going to come down to probably midway through the fourth quarter where you see some separation, whether it be a crucial turnover. But you will know the outcome of this game very early between the offensive defensive line plays of the Carolina Cobras on Fayetteville. I like Carolina win this game with a score of 62-56.
I think that's reasonable. I don't foresee this as a lower scoring affair, and I don't see it as a blowout. Again, Rakeem Cato changes things. You're going to be competitive. You're going to have that edge. You're going to have that athletic freakishness that is him when it comes to throwing on the run, when it comes to precise passing on just angles you don't expect to land, but they do land because it's Rakeem Cato. That's his bread and butter. He can do the pocket. He can roll out. You just got to hope that the mistake doesn't creep up on you. We don't think that's going to be the case, and I'm with you as well. Defensively, Cobra's defense is a terror, and I cannot overlook that, to say the least. Game number 2, Preds traveling out on a road trip, trying to kind of remove some of the bad juju from their home game that they had. Their first, of course, in a month and a half. Talk about a way to come back in front of a great crowd. They get to go on the road once again, this time to Freeman Coliseum, where the Gunslingers are now on their second game of their homestand, trying to wash away the bad taste in their mouth of having Sharks come into the town and kind of just do as they need, or really have a feeding frenzy if we want to talk about this in shark-related terms. Here's the end, is of course we have to say, Preds coming in, new QB, Jonathan Bain, MVP caliber talent, MVP and championship MVP himself, all NAL talent from back in the day with the Sharks. Do I believe that carries it over the hump? That's the grand question. Does a new QB allow for the Preds to achieve the entire capability that I think that me and Jim have been talking about since the beginning of the preseason in terms of this roster, and as well as with new pieces that they brought over from the exodus from Albany? It's hard to say. I don't fully buy yet. I need to see proof in the tape because I have been really liking on paper what the Preds have, but I haven't seen it fully put together. Sans that one contest against the Sharks that seems kind of an outlier at this point in this affair. I got the Gunslingers. I know that they've been looking a little rough as of late. I know that there are questions about Arvell Nelson's accuracy and turnover-prone capabilities, but I got to go with the Gunslingers here. I don't fully trust yet what the Preds will have. But hey, it's a prove me wrong game. I could be fully wrong. It would be to the detriment, of course, to many Gunslingers fans out there. But I got to go with the team that's had the core together, and I can at least say as they can excuse that last game as a once in a full moon, wipe the slate away type of affair. We'll find out if proof's in the tape this coming week. Because Jonathan Bain, even with only about 2 weeks to get in, trust me, he will play well. There is talent there to make this a fun affair.
I lost? Wait a minute, I'm not supposed to lose. Let me see the script.
Oh, I get worried when you pop that out. Whenever that video comes out, I perk up my ears a little bit.
Well, as you know, the script goes sometimes. The script's been bad to me lately this year, but I had to, ask for the script this time about Jonathan Bain, how everything's going down in Orlando. Well, let's go check San Antonio. One thing I know about San Antonio is that they were exposed last week against the Jacksonville Sharks, and the Orlando Predators have a team that can do exactly what Jacksonville did. They will have a veteran quarterback, they'll have veteran receivers, they have championship caliber players everywhere. But San Antonio does have Arvell Nelson, does have Kyle Rashad, does have Chisholm, does have Pierre Turner, does have a solid team, does have a team that has had explosive offenses throughout the year. But lately, their offense has struggled, and their defense has been very leaky against teams like West Texas and has been showing signs of fractures against of course, the Jacksonville Sharks and Fayetteville. But as I asked my San Antonio fans and San Antonio family, the script states this, that the San Antonio Gunslingers will fall again. All right, wrong button. My bad. Will fall to the Orlando. There we go.
That is a Gunslingers fan punching his phone or computer screen. That I know that was on accident, but that is hilarious that you did that. This is why if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube version of this show,
I've been messing up all
day. You should, because that stuff is hilarious as hell to me.
I think
was good.
I think one loss rolls into two San Antonio. I think there's more issues on that team that are starting to show besides what happened to Jacksonville. And I think Orlando has been a lot of close games. The last two, the tough loss to Carolina, the tough loss to West Texas. They're going to finally get it together. They make one extra play in this game, and they pull off a late win in the Freeman. Final score, in my opinion, 62-60 Predators.
Sound a high-scoring affair. I mean, credit with Bain in, and that's the thing. I do see a path here. It really comes down to me what Gunslingers team shows up. Do I get the one from the beginning of the season? Because that's what I'm waiting for. And I'm with you. The last few weeks that they have played, this is not the same roster that I watched opening week or opening few weeks, to say the least. I do want to know what we've got, and I think if your prediction comes true, then yeah, we might need to be talking a little deeper about what the Gunslingers have issues with. If they win, of course, if my pick goes through, then we go, all right, back on track. But we'll find out soon enough. That is a split here. Mm-hmm. Let's see if we continue the split. Let's see if we get back on track. Maybe we flip it back. We're going to just talk about each other matching pick for pick. Or who knows? Maybe that's the deciding factor this week. So let's find out. Game of the week, everybody. Jacksonville traveling on the road. They're going to be continuing their Texas two-step. I like that better, Jim. That sounds better than the Texas road trip. Mm-hmm. The Texas two-step. Heading on up to the hangar, visiting with the good old pal Top Gunner. Going to be introducing them into the arena. Shark bait, ooh ha ha. I don't know. I can give you everything else I want. They're going to be facing the Warbirds. Mitch the Kid coming into town, slinging his mighty rifle around, slinging the football as he was last week against the Preds. Can he do it again? Can the defense bring another impressive effort again? We talked about this. Sneakily, under kind of just some light of losses, been holding teams low, including that Gunslingers team that we talked about just previously in our picks. I am going to throw this out right away, though. I don't have that much faith in the Warbirds with this one. And I know I kind of talked about picking them a little low because I wasn't sure about the QB situation or how Mitch would improve with week one against the Preds. That's fine. Predators, though, they had their own problems. This Jacksonville team, there are no set offensive deficiencies. There are no questions of will a quarterback play up to snuff. This is a MVP caliber quarterback that is in this roster playing at the top of his game with guys that are playing at the top of their game. I got to go with the Sharks. Do I think this might be a closer matchup than some people see on paper? Yeah, I think so. I think we see the progression of Mitch Kidd continuing to play more up and up. I think you can find opportunities, but this is arguably the most well-rounded roster in the NAL in terms of production on both sides of the ball. I think some folks in Carolina would argue with me. I think that even Gunslingers fans still can argue with me and say it's an off day. But it's hard to argue the Sharks aren't. And I think that they do overall just overwhelm the Warbirds eventually. I think you'll see a game that's close for about, again, 2.5 quarters. Only this time higher scoring, not any inefficiencies with new QBs or new systems, new league. It's just going to be a better team at the end of the day, walks out of here. And I'll give you a score prediction because I've been slacking. You've been giving the extra mile on some of these. I think they'll drop a 60 burger. I don't think it'll be 70. The defense for Warbirds is too good. Mm-hmm. Give me like 63-48. I see that being. I think a solid offensive effort for West Texas, but it still has to place a pretty respectable Sharks defense on the opposite side. But I think they can put up at least into the 40s. Give me 60-48, though. Other two scores, because I need to catch up, by the way. Carolina, I'll say they win, much along your vein. Give me 60-53. And then Predators will lose to the Gunslingers, though, as the Gunslingers will walk away with a 54-45 affair over in Freeman Coliseum. But back to the Sharks pick. It's your turn. The resident Sharks fan himself, the resident Jacksonville resident himself, getting to take a look.
All right, I have a live look of what Top Gunner will be doing to me once we meet in Jacksonville at the end of the year. And
this is still funny, but it's not as funny with you accidentally clicking it up the way you did.
Yeah. And the reason why he'll be coming after me like that is because the Sharks will be looking for a 3-game sweep at the end of the year. I like the Sharks here in West Texas. This Saturday night, I think Sharks right now are hitting on all cylinders. Our offense is too powerful. For West Texas to stay in this game, Mitch Kidd needs to make some crucial plays like he did against Orlando and even more. And Schwartz, Lewis, and the gang that came over from Albany needed trying to find a way to slow down their buddy, Castronova, for the Jacksonville Sharks. But one of the things that it's very explosive about Jacksonville is the receiving core with Jensen, with Terry, with Solomon. It's one of the most explosive receiving cores in the league. And then you got Sam, who came in and didn't even skip a beat when he joined the team. Of course, Wade has shown out too as well. And one thing that has been impressive about Jacksonville in recent weeks is the defense with Jabari Gorman, Marvin Ross, and also Wade getting pick sixes and interceptions that are very crucial. That made the game last week against San Antonio so one-sided was the 3 turnovers that resulted in 21 points. For West Texas, secure the ball, get first downs, slow this game, score every time you get the ball. If you get interceptions, you get turnovers, score. If you give up the ball against Jacksonville, they're guaranteed to score. They lead the league with points off of turnovers. You can't give Jacksonville extra possessions. You gave a score. I think this is going to be one of the most entertaining games. I think Jacksonville does touch 60 in this game, 64 points, while West Texas gets 58. I think West Texas stays with Jacksonville throughout the night. Jacksonville kind of pulls away in the second half, late half, and they give up a garbage touchdown in the fourth quarter to make the game as so. So the Sharks with the win on the road to complete their Texas two-step, and I'll get prepared for Top Gunner to make some type of comment on our chat here later on the stream. But yes.
He'll definitely
make
his
one.
2 cents. He always does, but it's always fun. Like that's the thing. I love as him as a mascot. He has been kicking it, and I mean really kicking it well in this league. Excellent addition to the league for West Texas and the fan base as well. Which, by the way, guys, looking forward to seeing the arena get stacked. By the way, as if we didn't say it's enough, production for their last home game for the Warbirds with a new company they brought in. Spot on stuff. They did a great job. I can't wait to watch that game because I know they've fixed that stuff very well. No bad broadcasts in the NAL this year. At least early season, West Texas had its fumbled its bag. We know that now, but they've righted the ship just like we talked about. They did right. Mm-hmm. Fayetteville came out of the gate. They've done good work. Every team has good broadcasts. I can sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride for the most part. For camera work quality, you name it, it's good stuff. I'm happy to hear that, and I just wanted to point that out once more, and I can't wait to see that game. And Game of the Week will look real nice for those sitting outside of the arena and sitting online on YouTube for any of those games. Well, Jim, I think it about covers it. We are not done with content for this week. You might be saying, hey, where the heck are these interviews? You guys been doing interviews like pretty much every episode for, or at least as many as you can. And you're right.
Stay tuned Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, we're not going to spoil the details. We do have a bonus coverage. Yeah, bonus coverage coming early Saturday get you all squared away. You might want, especially if you're a Warbirds fan. That's the only thing I'll give away is if you're a Warbirds fan yourself, stay tuned. Top Gunner might want to be sharing something here about that. You'll know pretty soon who's going to be jumping on with us in our own separate episode, or mini-sode if you want to call it, for discussion coming up on Saturday. But otherwise, enjoy this rest of this episode while we have it for the final minutes we've got, because it was a doozy. Got a nice long, even without the interview. Got plenty of stuff we had to cover, of course, today. If anything, Jim, as we lead into the end of our Week 9 previews, anything else you'd like to talk about with the folks at home before we jump off for the evening? Well, on our end, the evening. For you guys, it's the morning.
Actually, no, not really. Not this time around. A lot of things still be working behind scenes. We'll be making official announcements here pretty soon. Got some things to tweak, but yes, stay tuned. Really nothing. Just if you're listening to this on the Friday morning, if you're driving, be safe. If you're at home, be chill. Drink some coffee. If not, you're watching it throughout the day. Thank you for tuning in to NAL Gameday Week 9 here of Inside the Walls.
Fantastic. Well, another week is coming around the bend. More stuff about the Muck will be coming on ahead for NAL Rebound that we'll be discussing because, I mean, hey, the Muck, it is always present and active factor. Leader of the Muck still is the Fayetteville Mustangs, as we know, and we'll see if maybe they still keep that nod as they go in to week number 10 next week, and we talk about week 9 on the other side. Again, Saturday morning, got a nice interview you're going to want to not miss. That is our mini-sode, as we'll call it, extra bonus coverage, extra super fantastic bonus coverage of the league that we love so damn much. And before we go, ladies and gentlemen, remember one small detail. What do you got, Jim?
Don't be a jack out of the box.
There we go. He wasn't so sure, but he got it. He nailed it 100%. A+ on your test. Until next time, everyone, catch you on Saturday and then catch you on Tuesday, Wednesday. It's usually Tuesday. We'll go Tuesday. We'll catch you Tuesday for Rebound. Enjoy this week's games. We'll talk with you guys as well because, we jump on games too and have a little bit of a blast with you. See you on the other side. See you next week, everyone.
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Heilman and Jim Bernier.